Taiwan's election results are in, and the real loser is the Chinese Communist Party. Find out how Hong Kong protests played a big role in the elections. Welcome back to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell, coming to you from Taipei, Taiwan. Taiwan's historic 2020 presidential and legislative elections happened over the weekend. And like pretty much everything in Taiwan, the elections were adorable. See? Adorable. Adorable. Oh, no, wait, that's horrifying. Okay, not everything was adorable. The election was targeted with a disinformation campaign from the Chinese Communist Party. And people were feeling it. The biggest catchphrase of the election, dried mango strips, refers to a feeling of impending national doom. But even with the impending doom, the Tsai campaign still found time to release an anime adventure game called What? I, a Taiwanese third-year high schooler from Class 2, suddenly fell into a different world and met the president? Why don't American presidential candidates release anime adventure games? But back to the non-anime Taiwan election, in which current President Tsai Ing-Wen won in a landslide against her opponent Han Kuo-Yu. In fact, Tsai got more votes than any presidential candidate in the history of Taiwan's democracy. And Tsai's party, the Democratic Progressive Party, also won a majority of seats in the Legislative Yuan. The election was a major defeat for Han's party, the KMT. One of the biggest differences between the two parties is how they treat China. The DPP has been a strong supporter of Taiwan's sovereignty and resisting pressure from Beijing. The KMT has pushed for stronger ties with China with the goal of boosting Taiwan's economy. As the votes were counted, it became pretty clear early on that this election was going to the DPP and Tsai Ing-Wen. That created a wave of euphoria at the DPP rally, and not so much at the KMT rally. We watched the ballot counting in Taipei's District 4, traditionally a KMT area. In the last election, the DPP didn't even bother to run a legislative candidate. This time, the majority here voted DPP. A year ago, few people would have predicted this. The KMT had had a surge in popularity, especially as economic issues became a focus in Taiwanese politics. In the 2018 regional elections, the DPP lost big to the KMT, and Tsai Ing-Wen was forced to step down as the DPP chair. At one point, it looked like she might not even be the DPP candidate for the 2020 elections. So, how did this happen? Well, there were a lot of factors, including the fact that people either really loved or really hated Han Kuo-Yu. And then, this happened. For months, Hong Kong has been embroiled in protests against the Chinese Communist Party. The Communist Party and how Taiwan should deal with China is always a big focus in Taiwanese elections. But the Hong Kong protests gave Taiwanese voters a clear picture of what they did not want to happen here. Have the Hong Kong protests affected how you might vote today?
Yes, it made me think I have to vote today.
Why?
Because we don't want to be next Hong Kong.
We don't want to be the next Hong Kong.
The Chinese Communist Party considers Taiwan a Chinese province and has vowed to get Taiwan back under its control. If they can't do it economically, then they'll do it with the military. And while Han Kuo-Yu called for closer economic ties with China, promising that it would help average Taiwanese people get rich, Tsai Ing-Wen made Taiwanese sovereignty and comparisons with Hong Kong a central piece to her campaign strategy. And Hong Kong protesters even went to DPP rallies to witness Taiwan's election.
We are from Hong Kong and we are coming to Taiwan to support the freedom and the democracy in Taiwan.
And while KMT supporters showed plenty of enthusiasm at their rally, there were no Hong Kong protesters in sight. It's not hard to guess which presidential candidate was Beijing's favorite. So people were very worried that the Chinese Communist Party would try to interfere with the election. Tsai Ing-Wen actively made it an issue during the campaign. Han Kuo-Yu, not so much.
市长得民调的这种怎么会有这样的说法？
我听你讲话，右边耳朵都发聋，我换一个左边耳朵来听。你是哪一家媒体？你是哪一家媒体？你先报你的媒体的名字。
不好意思，市长可以回答我们。
你是哪一家媒体？
新唐人的，不好意思，可以回答我们。
你是哪一家媒体？
新唐人。
哦，了解。好，还有没有其他问题？
But the landslide victory for Tsai and the DPP shows just how concerned the Taiwanese people are about China. The Chinese Communist Party obviously was not too pleased about the election results. In fact, the official Xinhua state-run news agency blamed foreign forces, including the US, for Tsai's win in the Taiwan regional leadership election. So glad we could be here for the Taiwan regional leadership election. But what happens next is the real question. The Chinese Communist Party tried to use money and intimidation in Hong Kong, and that failed in the recent Hong Kong local elections. The Communist Party tried to use money and intimidation in Taiwan, and that failed too. Will China resort to more brutal tactics in Hong Kong and Taiwan? How will the United States respond? One thing is clear. Supporting the Communist Party is no longer a good choice for your political career. The chairman of the KMT was forced to resign after the humiliating defeat. And while Han Kuo-Yu will now carry on as the mayor of the southern city of Kaohsiung, he's likely to face a recall election. And I just have to say personally, I was moved seeing these elections and how passionate the Taiwanese people are about democracy. I hope that's a spirit we can all bring to the 2020 US presidential elections. Well, that and an anime adventure game called, What? I, an American third-year high schooler from Class 2, suddenly fell into a different world and met the president? Thanks for watching. And once again, a big thank you to the fans who support China Uncensored on the crowdfunding website Patreon. We wouldn't be able to come here to Taiwan to cover these elections if it weren't for their support, so please leave a thank you to them in the comments below. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.